Good evening and welcome to the Greater Victoria Police Pipe Band's Robbie Burns dinner presentation. My name is Jim Maxwell and it's my pleasure to be your Master of Ceremonies as the Pipe Band pays tribute to the great poet of Scotland, Robert Burns. In a normal year, we would all be getting together in person at one of the largest Robbie Burns events in North America. But this year with the pandemic is not a normal year. And so the Pipe Band has put together this online presentation for your viewing pleasure. You may know that the Burns Dinner is the Pipe Band's largest fundraiser of the year. And if you're so inclined, the band would appreciate any donation made at their website, gvppb.com. Thank you. I'd like to introduce Piper Dave Hennigan, who will play the call to attention. Due to the current restrictions on performance groups, all the Pipe Band performances you'll see tonight have been previously recorded at other events. But all the speeches and all the entertainment have been specifically recorded for this presentation. Our first Pipe Band performance is the drum fanfare from the 2013 Pacific Tattoo. I would now like to welcome Piper Dave McMillan, who will present the address to the Haggis.
Fair fire, honest, salty face, great chieftain all the puddin' race. Upon the ye takia place, page, bright or fair, will are ye worthy o' a grace, as lang's me air. The groaning drencher, there ye fell, ye hurdies, like a distant hill. Ye been would have to mend a million times o' need. Well through ye pours the dews distill, like amber bead, his knife, Sir rustic labour dike, on got thee up with ready sleight, drenching your gushing entrails bright like ony dish. And oh, what a glorious sight! Warm, reeking, and rich. Then horn for horn they'll stretch and strive. They'll tuck the hindmost on they drive, till the wheels swall kites me live. Oh, bent like drums. Then old good man makes like to ride. Bethank it, Holmes. Is there that is French ragout, or olio that would start stew, a fricassee that would make us spew? Bah! The perfect scorner looks down with sneering, scornful view on sick of dinner. Poor thee, see him on his trash, as fat reckless as a withered rash, his spindle shank, a good whiplash, his knees, a nip, through bloody floods of hills to dash. Oh, how unfit. But mark, the rustic Haggis fed, the trembling earth resounds his tread. Clap in his woolly neva blade, he'll make it whistle, and legs, and arms, and hands, with a snap, like taps of bristle. Ye powers what make mankind your care, and dish them out the bill of fare. All Scotland wants nae stinking ware the choops and loogies. But if ye wish her a grateful prayer, gie her a haggis.
I'd like to now ask Drum Major Randy Evans to give the Selkirk Grace and the Toast to the Queen.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Randy Evans. I'm the drum major for the Greater Victoria Police Pipe Band. I've been asked to give the prayer before dinner tonight. Our tradition is to say the Selkirk Grace, which was said to be Robbie Burns' favorite prayer. The prayer was known 100 years before Burns made it famous, and it was originally called the Galloway Grace. It is now called the Selkirk Grace because the Baird delivered it at a dinner given by the Earl of Selkirk in 1794, and it's been popular ever since. The Baird's rendition of the prayer goes like this. Some hae meat and cannot eat, and some would eat that want it. But we hae meat, and we can eat. Say, let the Lord be thanked. Thank you, and please enjoy your meal. Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention? I'm back. It is my distinct pleasure this evening to deliver the loyal toast. Queen Elizabeth II is the longest reigning monarch in the world, beginning her service in 1952 at the age of 25. She has now reigned for 68 years and is still going strong at the age of 94. She is sovereign of 15 Commonwealth realms, in addition to the UK, and is also head of the 54 Commonwealth countries. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise and join me in a toast to Her Majesty. The Queen. Thank you. Please be seated.
Piper Angus McPherson will now give the Toast to the Lassies.
Honored guests, ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure now to do the Toast to the Lassies. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, and Scots, to whom this tradition is familiar, and everyone else still trying to sort out what food group haggis belongs to. It's been said that being handed the task of addressing a toast to the lassies is like being handed a poisoned chalice. Well, it's a slippery slope to be walking on these days when it comes to gender-based humor. This, though, is a Burns Night tradition. It's an opportunity to highlight the behavioral differences in our genders in a tongue-in-cheek way that means no disrespect to women, but simply plays upon the stereotypes that define both sexes and raises questions like why a man's hindsight can only be outdone by a woman's foresight, or the three most important features of an automobile: plush interior, a radio, and the quintessential makeup mirror. And how about when women do agree with us, men, are we both wrong? Even the 19th century scholarly Oscar Wilde was quoted once saying, "Women are to be loved, not understood." But love them we do, as did Burns, who arguably did more than his fair share. He loved them, yes, but not just for their physical pleasures. Well, mostly for their physical pleasures, but take, for example, in his poem, Handsome Nell, where he wrote, "A bonny lass, I will confess, is pleasant to the ee, but without some better qualities, she's no a lass for me." What differentiates Burns was his outspoken reverence and adoration of women as social and intellectual equals at a time among his contemporaries it was unpopular to do so. Burns demonstrated a staunch support of the rights and freedoms of women when he championed this sentiment in a verse taken from The Rights of Women he penned in 1792. While Europe's eyes is fixed on mighty things, the fate of empires and the fall of kings, while quacks of state must each produce his plan, and even children lisp the rights of man. Amid this mighty fuss, just let me mention the rights of women merit some attention. Can a feminist today disagree that Burns believed strongly in equal opportunity? Clearly he believed all deserving lasses had an equal opportunity to join him in bed. Burns' love of women and his prolific contributions to both the populace and poetry are well recorded, with poem after poem, song after song, in books abound, all dedicated to the lasses. You might say Burns' best work was beneath the covers. All kidding aside, it's truly an honor to address the lasses which grace and inspire us men here tonight. And thanks also for the dedication and to the countless women who are first responders, doctors, nurses, peacekeepers. Thank you for the year we've had and come through and continue to have. You make our world a better place. Now, gentlemen, please join me with the toast. Be upstanding, charge your glasses. This means get off your cell phones. Let me grab my drink here. And we're going to have a toast, a wee poem I wrote to our lasses. To our lasses, gentle, graceful, and strong, our sweet and caring treasures, of whom Burns wrote in poem and song of all your heavenly pleasures. On you bestowed, we honor thee. Our hearts pour out with gladness. Our life on earth without you be, our loss and certain sadness. Gentlemen, to the lassies! Best one I've had all week. Almost ripe.
I'm very much looking forward to this toast. Piper Claire Miller will now give the reply to the toast to the lassies.
I have the privilege of replying to your toast. And so, in the spirit of Robbie Burns, I begin the rebuttal. Thanks, Angus, for that. It's my turn with the mic. Women get to reply, and that's something we like. For how sweet that it is, this order's preferred. In the program at Burns, women get the last word. Each year at Burns Night, we do get our say. With the hope, on review, you will do things our way. We take notes all year to include in this rant the things that you do, or you don't, or you can't. Yes, evidence drives the source of our fury. And women, right now, are both judge and the jury. Now, I do take a risk. Our band's led by men, like Colin and Warren and Jamie. But then, no repercussions in the past from my speech? Perhaps they're adopting the changes I preach. And right now I note, men cannot get near. Dr. Henry's 2 meters protect me in here. So on with the tips, and listen, men must, to all of the things which we find unjust. First up, it's the kitchen. Your cooking we fear, with standards as low as nachos and beer. You barbecue, yes, but the meal's not complete if the only thing served is a piece of charred meat. So start with the basics. A salad, some wine, With a bottle of Tums, I'm sure we'll be fine. The bathroom is next. Try this as your goal. Always keep the lid down and replace the loo roll. Oh yes, about birthdays. Why isn't it clear that the date stays the same regardless of year? The garage, we do find the hoarding bizarre, so filled with your junk that it can't fit the car. Now, for much of last year, we all stayed inside. It was spouses together with no place to hide. Now, it wasn't all bad, despite the upheaval. For to cope, thankfully, pot isn't illegal. Your evenings were free for months, and the reason? All sports teams were halted partway through the season. So we finally found your weekends were free. You got so much more done with no sports on TV. Now, time is of essence, so I'll now make a switch. Some lessons from Burns I'm now going to pitch. A bit of a rebel, advanced were his views. He loved women and song, and no doubt enjoyed booze. A lover of many, while he did have a wife, I suggest you don't copy that part of his life. In today's day and age, Burns would be in trouble, for surely those women weren't all in his bubble. But if he were here, on a laptop he'd type, his fingers would fly and he'd edit all night. But you know, a computer, his verse, it might hinder. For with internet, he'd have access to Tinder. The national bard was sincere and direct, and we know that his verse he read with effect. There was a clear pattern when his poems he read, for his verse seemed to end with a woman in bed. So read us some Burns, meet our sense of intrigue. Just remember to match his lack of fatigue. Our standards are high, and it would be so nice if you put this to heart and took our advice. That we are online, our band does lament, but alas, we can't host a super spreader event. And now I must finish. The show must proceed. But first, there is one thing I have to concede. The year that just passed, women did make it through, and we couldn't have done it if we didn't have you. So I'll raise my glass now to the men watching here with the hope we will be all together next year. Now, women, please stand and join me tonight for a toast to the laddies and all they do right. To the laddies.
It is now time to discuss the main reason for our presentation tonight. Robert Burns was born over 260 years ago in Scotland. And tonight, on January 25th, his birthday, all over the world, there are many celebrations paying tribute to the great poet of Scotland. I'd like to welcome Piper Byron Bernard to give the Immortal Memory.
Honored guests, ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure here to be giving the Immortal Memory of Robert Burns. Robert Burns is known variously as Scotland's favorite son, the ploughman poet, the heaven-taught ploughman, the Bard of Ayrshire, or simply the Bard. He was born in Ayrshire, Scotland in 1759 and died in 1796 at the young age of 37, on the same day that his wife, Jean Armour, gave birth to their son Maxwell, the last of 9 children he had with Jean. Burns was the father of at least 12 children, though, a virile man for sure. Burns lived during the Age of Enlightenment, or more particularly the Scottish Enlightenment. Edinburgh was the center of the European intellectual elite. and the hub of philosophical, medical, and scientific studies. Medical knowledge was still primitive, however. There were no antibiotics or prophylactics, both of which Burns may have been helped with. The fact that germs cause disease remain unknown for close to another 100 years. The stethoscope would not be invented for another 20. The adoption of the thermometer to measure body temperature was the major breakthrough of his times. Burns wrote in Scottish and English. Scots was the vernacular of the common folk of his day. It was a very tight and efficient language that conveyed a lot of meaning in a few words. Much of it is difficult for us to understand today without interpretation. The address to the Haggis, heard earlier, is a great example. Another is Willie Wassell's Wife, a descriptive and entertaining poem. Here are a few lines. She has an eye, she has but ane. The cat has twa, the very colour. 5 rusty teeth forby a stump. A clapper tongue would deave a miller. In less than 30 words, Burns conveys a vivid description. A clapper tongue refers to a bell, the clapper being the ball that sways back and forth to ring the bell. Would deave a miller refers to deafening a miller that worked on the very noisy conditions of the Industrial Revolution. Burns' first collection of poetry, poems chiefly of the Scottish dialect, was published in 1786. It became known as the Kilmarnock Collection, or edition, after the town in which it was published. Copies sold out within a few weeks. It was published to help finance his proposed emigration to Jamaica. At the time, another story. Suffice it to say that Scotland almost lost the bard. It was this collection of his work that got the attention of the Edinburgh elite and a wider audience within Scotland. The ploughman farmer clearly had a gift as an artist, a wordsmith, an entertainer, and I submit, a teacher. Yes, a teacher, a theme to which I will return later. Among the poems in the Kilmarnock collection were To a Mouse and the Epistle to Davy. To a Mouse was written after Burns accidentally turned over a mouse nest while plowing his field. The poem is filled with messages, empathy for a mouse, and likening the life of the mouse to human circumstances. Burns had done to a tiny mouse what many landlords had done to other poor farmers in his time. He had severely disrupted his living conditions. In this poem, Burns shares that life is a struggle against loss, and in the midst of living, we are dying, proving true in his own early death. Couple of lines here. But Mousie, thou art no thy lane. Improving foresight may be vain. The best laid schemes o' mice and men gang aft a glee, and lea us naught but grief and pain for promised joy. Even the most carefully made plans created by animals or by humans alike often go wrong. Distress and pain are experienced instead of the happiness and joy we expect. The poem relates a truth that life is often tragically unpredictable. Burns identifies several truths concerning mortal life in this poem that speak to the reader and invite thought. The Epistle to Davy, a brother poet, was written in January 1785, when Burns was just 26 years old. It contains a gem of a verse that lives up to the adjective immortal. It is one of many that reveals Burns at his best. It's no in titles, nor in rank. It's no in wealth, like Lunnon Bank. To purchase peace and rest, it's no in making muckle mair it's known books, it's known lair. To make us truly blessed, if happiness hae not her seat and centre in the breast. We may be wise, or rich, or great, but never can be blessed. Nay, treasures nor pleasures could make us happy lang. The heart, aye, is the part, aye, that makes us right or wrang. After publishing the Kilmarnock collection, Burns was persuaded that he would have a much larger audience for his work if he wrote more in English. He was also told that he could make more money by penetrating the upper class of Edinburgh. His brief period, in 1786, Burns borrowed a pony. He wasn't a rich man. He borrowed a pony and he set out for Edinburgh. His brief period in Edinburgh afforded him many new connections, and his work did end up reaching a much wider audience. It was in Edinburgh that he was referred to as the heaven-taught ploughman. For a variety of reasons, however, he left Edinburgh and resumed farming in Dumfriesshire in 1788. Farming involved hard physical labor, and the nature of the work, coupled with his lifestyle, took its toll on his health. For much of his life, Burns barely made a living as a lowly tenant farmer, and he often squandered the money he made from his poems and his songwriting on drink. In the last few years of his life, he got a job as an exciseman, one who collected taxes. Another set of stories for another time. I would like now to return to the thought of Burns as a teacher, an inspiring teacher. The notion of Burns as a teacher may give rise to some serious reservations, as his behavior was often hypocritical or self-contradictory, something he was acutely aware of. He wrote to a friend, "God knows I am no saint. I have a whole host of follies and sins to answer for. But if I could, and I believe I do it as far as I can, I would wipe away all tears from all eyes." Burns had a big heart, and many of his works involved feelings of the heart. One of his most inspiring songs was written in 1795, a year before he died. In this classic piece, entitled "A Man's a Man for A' That," he speaks of liberty and independence, themes that were being realized in the British colonies of America and fought over in France at the time. It was also an expression of Scottish nationalism. Burns's radical views of the time were that each man should have a right to vote, to own land, and to be free. Here are some of the teachings that Burns presented in this spoken song, truisms that endure to this day. A man's value is in his character, not his wealth or his social class. A man's honesty is more important than the clothes he wears or the food he eats. A man who can think for himself is worth more than the fancy, strutting fool or coof who has the title of lord. Dignity, honesty, and self-respect are worth more than the titles handed out by princes. In conclusion, Burns expresses this hope and even conviction that one day the world will change. The last verse is applicable to our times, especially given the events of this past year. Then let us pray that come it may, as come it will, for a' that sense and worth o'er a' the earth shall bear the gree and a' that. For a' that and a' that, it's coming yet for a' that man to man the world o'er shall brothers be for a' that. Although Burns perhaps never thought of himself as a teacher, he truly was. The highest manifestation of teaching is inviting learners to act in accordance with the truth that they are learning. Burns provided truisms and divinely inspired messages in his works and invited the reader to think about them and to act upon them. Burns recognized the humanity, intelligence, and moral agency of mankind, even though he clearly had his own failings. A modern-day churchman, David Bednar, when speaking of teaching, said that truth gets carried unto the heart. Then the learner is invited to act, and if acted upon, the message is carried into the heart. The same churchman has said, the best lessons in life are not taught, they are caught. The works of Burns have been carried unto the heart and into the heart and caught by millions of readers over the past 200 plus years. There is little doubt that Burns, like many artists, was divinely inspired in many of his works. He had a gift, a special gift of expressing his thoughts with great conviction and clarity. In addition to being a very remarkable, gifted poet and songwriter, he was a teacher, an immortal teacher that continues to inspire and be celebrated worldwide. His works are of a classic and enduring nature. They continue to move us, our thinking and our behavior to this day. They are immortal. Having said that, I would invite all here assembled to charge your glasses, to rise and give toast to the immortal memory to Robert Burns. Thank you.
Our next pipe band performance comes from the World Pipe Band Championships at Glasgow Green in August 2019. And the Greater Victoria Police Pipe Band are competing in the Grade 4A final. We now have a Celtic music performance where drummer Doug and piper Shelley Thorstenson will present Wild Mountain Thyme.
Oh, the summer time is coming, and the trees are sweetly blooming, and the wild mountain thymes grows around the blooming heather. Will ye go, lassie, go? I will build my love a bower near your cool crystal fountains, and on it I will pile all the flowers from the mountain. Will ye go, lassie, go? And we'll all go together to pour wild mountain times all around the blooming heather. Will ye go, lassie, go? If my true love, she were gone, I would surely find another where wild mountain times grows around the blooming heather. Will ye go, lassie, go? And we'll all go together to pour wild mountain times all around the blooming heather. Will ye go, lassie, go?
And now for a Highland dance performance, where drummer Leah Mackay, accompanied by her mother and piper Jill Mackay, will present the Highland Fling. Our third pipe band performance is from September 2020, where the pipe band performed at the 157th Victoria Highland Games and Celtic Festival at Craigflower Manor. The Greater Victoria Police Pipe Band is pleased to be associated with all the police services in Greater Victoria. It's my pleasure to invite Deputy Chief Dean Duthie from the Saanich Police Department to give the Chief Constable toast.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for joining our virtual Robbie Burns Night celebration. My name is Dean Duthie. I'm one of the Deputy Chief Constables at the Saanich Police Department. I have the honor of representing the Greater Victoria Area Chiefs of Police on the executive of the Police Pipe Band. Shortly after, many of us gathered at the Mary Winspear Centre in January 2020 to enjoy an evening of celebration together as a community. The world around us changed. This had devastating impacts to many people and families as jobs were lost, loved ones became ill, and sadly, many passed on. My heart goes out to all those who experienced hardships, turmoil, and loss. To our frontline workers, from the bottom of our hearts, we thank you. Your steadfast ability to maintain courageous, strong, committed, compassionate, and resilient for the past 11 months is nothing short of astonishing. Our collective community spirit, care, and compassion has also been selflessly demonstrated for months as we lend a helping hand to encourage, support, and bring a smile to the faces of those who needed it most. The Greater Victoria Police Pipe Band was part of this mission. As band members stepped up and volunteered hours to play the sweet sounds of bagpipes outside our primary hospitals once a week for several weeks, as a sign of high respect and appreciation for those battling illnesses and to the medical professionals who gallantly risk their own safety and well-being to save others. To the band, please know that your efforts and compassion were felt by many, and it did make a real difference. As a result of all community functions, events, and gatherings being canceled, the band was not able to perform in public or travel to other parts to showcase their renowned skills, camaraderie, community spirit, and love for music. That said, they have remained committed disciplined, and vigilant. Paying very close attention to the restrictions and safety measures ordered and recommended, the band demonstrated their professionalism and dedication by being adaptable and responsive as they scheduled their weekly practice sessions accordingly. This ranged from the band being divided into small groups and practicing in different locations to virtual practice sessions. This past fall, it became clear to all of us that the annual Greater Victoria Police Pipe Band's most significant fundraising event and community celebration, the Burns Dinner, would sadly be cancelled. Although nothing can replace the positive and vibrant energy that is generated by over 500 glorious community members who join together to share in handshakes, hugs, laughter, and goodwill as we collectively celebrate the birthday of Robbie Burns, our band was not going to let this tradition simply pass by. By staying optimistic and thinking creatively, the 2021 virtual Burns celebration was put into motion. Through teamwork and collaboration, the executive, band members, and key community partners worked tirelessly to plan and compose a production that could be enjoyed by everyone. I would like to personally thank the band for making this happen, as I know it will bring joy to the hearts of many who look at this day as a tradition. Lastly, the band represents the Greater Victoria Police Departments and the RCMP. I would also like to extend my sincere gratitude and respect to all those active and retired police officers for their professionalism, compassion, and service. Thank you very much for joining us tonight, and please join me in a toast to the band.
The Greater Victoria Police Pipe Band hopes you've enjoyed this virtual presentation of our Robbie Burns Dinner. We're going to complete the presentation by having the pipe band play Amazing Grace, Doug and Shelley sing O Lang Syne, and Piper Gord Pollock play Black Bear. We hope to see you all in person at our 2022 Burns Dinner. Thank you and good night.
Acquaintance be forgot and never brought to mind. Should old acquaintance be forgot in days of old lang syne? For old lang syne, my dear, for we'll drink a cup of